Croeso. This is James, aka JP Harker, coming to you with another video of what I've been reading and writing in this 2 weeks, I think it is. It's going to be more one than the other this week because I'm still reading Odin's Wolves, and I'm still reading Final Empire, and I'm still reading my Arthurian Tennyson. And they're all good stuff, but I'm reading them all at once. I've not got particularly far with them because I've been busy. What have you been busy with, James? I hear you ask eagerly. I've been busy writing books. Namely, and the reason I'm looking more smug than usual, is I've now written 10 books, which is a slightly surreal feeling. Some of them are still only at first draft level, some of them need an awful lot of work before anything can be done with them. But it did sort of strike me this week, yes, that's 10 books you've written now, and that's, as I say, quite surreal. I've not been writing for that long, and yes, I thought I'd spend most of this video having a quick chat about what I've written and where I'm planning on going with it. So, without further ado, I'm referring to my notes, of course, like it's not all in my head constantly. The one I've finished most recently is Blood and Woad, and for those who know about the Caledon Saga, it's set in the same world, and so it's Iron Age Wales, Imperial Rome inspired fantasy. So it's not quite historical, it's not filled with a lot of magic either, it's believable fantasy is what I would call it. And it's not strictly a spin-off from the Caledon Saga because there are cameos from the characters we know, but it's mostly a whole new story, whole new tribe, come to that. It's a tribe that's in occupied territory already, and the idea behind it, I'm only going to be brief on this, the idea behind it is, what have the Romans done for us? It's a tribe, unlike Rhea's, which is just starting to see the encroachment of the Gaian Empire. This is one that's been under their control for a while, and there are good things that have come of that, and there are bad things that have come of that. And different people in this tribe have different opinions as to whether that should carry on and what should or should not be done. Our protagonist is a little this way and that and gets persuaded a little this way and that way, and I'm going to leave that at that for now. I'll do a more detailed summing up of it, a bit more detailed check this out sort of thing once it's a little bit more tidied up. It's still only at a first draft phase, so I don't want to contradict anything I say later because I might change bits here and there. That's the latest one. The one I finished the first draft of before that was Lancelot, which is the second of my Arthurian books. Keep an eye out, Gawain should be out, is it next June, I think? It was originally next June, but I know with COVID and everything, things are behind schedule through no fault of anybody's, so hopefully it's still June that that'll be out, and that'll be the first of my Arthurian retellings. Gawain is roughly based on Gawain and the Green Knight, but Gawain and the Green Knight and an awful lot of Arthurian myth, people associate it or depict it in a somewhat medieval setting, which doesn't really make sense. So I've set mine in the Dark Ages is not a term I like. It's the post-Roman period when the Romans have gone, the native Britons are still living there, the Saxons are on their way in, but they haven't taken over everything yet. And that's when most of the real Arthurian myth tends to happen, so that's when I've set mine. So Gawain is, I think, a realistic version of myth, and a realistic version of the Green Knight, where we call him the Green Man. Lancelot, of course, is set in the same time, based loosely on Lancelot, Knight of the Cart, and Lancelot and the Tower of Dolorous Guard, which are both traditional ones, but again, Lancelot is from a later myth, so I'm incorporating him into an earlier world. We'll see how that one turns out. The grand plan with that series of stories is that Arthur is currently in the planning phase, and then there'll be Birth of Camelot, which will be all three knights meeting up in the beginning of Arthur's Camelot as it will exist in this world. And I may end it there, I may do another book after that, I may expand on it. It's largely going to depend on how it's received and how much it holds my interest, because I have a lot of other things that I'm working on. Lydia's nicely in too. This one's not so much a book that anyone's going to hear of for some time, which is my Jake Ranson book. And that's, again, the first of a planned series, but I've sort of put it on the back burner. And it's urban fantasy, a little bit James Bond-esque, a little bit John le Carré-esque, but with fantasy elements in it. So, again, I'm being quite vague with that one because it's at an early stage, and a lot of things are going to change in it. So, watch this space for Jake Ranson's books, but that's in a while. Another two, which I am hoping to bring out in the reasonably near future, we'll see, but it's quite a big project to look at, are my Oakleaf Crown books, which are the first books that I wrote. And again, for those who know the Caledon world, the Caledon Saga was something I invented and came up with when I'd written the Oakleaf Crown books and realised they were much, much too long. And thought, right, well, I'll write some shorter books set earlier in the history of this same world, because I'd already set up a history of this world. There were already characters and tribes and events. And I thought, well, I'll write about some of them. So the Caledon Saga is about 800 years prior to what I'm writing here, the medieval sort of period of this world, or early medieval period. And that follows what could roughly be called a mixture of Normans and Romans, and natives of Daria, the old Darians like the Lurians, and to an extent the Sadaks as well. And that's quite a big story. It sort of sounds quite grandiose. It's a complex story. Caledon Saga tends to have only a few POVs. This has about 7 or 8 different POVs, and they all have their own stories that sort of link together and go apart, where we have princes and princesses, and we have alchemists, and we have knights, and we have savages, and we have apprentices, and we have acolytes, and they're all connected and disconnecting. And as you can imagine, that makes for quite long books. The 2 books that I've written of it were originally 1 book, which came to slightly longer than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I was advised, maybe make that a little bit shorter, Jim. So I split it in 2, and it was still too long. But hopefully, when I get round to it and when the opportunity arises, I'll start looking at those again, and that will probably end up being a series of 6 or 8. We shall see. But that's, again, in the pipeline. I'm not even going to talk about my big epic fantasy with lots of magic one, because I'm only maybe halfway through book 1 of that, so that's not counting in my I've written 10 books, go me. I'm going to end this one with Proud Fox, which is the latest of the Caledon Saga. Obviously, counting 1, 2, 3 would be Wildcat, Leaping Wolf and Lion Cub. And book 4, which is Proud Fox, is almost 100% completed. It's on the 5th draft, I think. So the final edit, I am, 28% through my final edit, because I'm sad and I work these things out. And after I've done the final edit, I've got the cover design. Once I've got the final edit, I'll send that off, I'll get the physical proof copy back, and once that's been checked through, it will be out and in the world. So, fingers crossed, October, November time, you may be seeing the latest installment of the Caledon Saga. Control your chairs. I appreciate that, it's difficult for you. As to where that's going to go, Proud Fox is book 4. It's planned to be a 6-book series. But having said that, it was planned to be a one-off, and was then planned to be a trilogy. But hopefully, I will control myself this time, and it'll be a 6-book series. Book 6 may be split into 2. We shall see. I'm in the planning phase of book 5, and I've got a few ideas that are a rough guideline for book 6. It's looking to be long, so as I say, that may end up being split into. We'll see how it ends up going. But that's, I've been saying, sort of on the back burner and eventually and maybe for a lot of these. The Caledon ones, I'm a lot more, let's get through these, let's let's smash out the work, because I'm in that sort of mindset at the moment, and I really want to get into it, and I really want to, see the conclusions happen, so fear not, I am focused, I am on it with those. Well, having reassured my legions or cohorts of fans about that one, I'm going to wrap this slightly rambling video up. So, everyone in the comments and that, just say, yay, me, I'm wonderful, I'm brilliant, I've written 10 books. Most of them aren't ready for anything, but we'll see how it goes. Usual drill applies. Like, subscribe, follow me on my various social medias, buy my books, read them, tell everyone that they're brilliant. You know the drill by now, I'm sure. This is James, aka JP Harker. Thank you for watching. Hwyl fawr.